All right. As a teacher, there's oftentimes been, or there's a lot of discussion in the current teaching world about how important it is to teach leadership to kids. And so leadership is what I'm going to give a little quick discussion about and how I enter that into the equation in my classroom. What I do is and this is my leadership binder, because I have to do a presentation later on, and I have a few things that I've written in here about leadership, and I'm just going to share a little bit about what I've written, So leadership is something that is, I started because last year my principal introduced the idea of leadership and how it could benefit our students in our school. So I said, okay, let me read this book that he gave me, which was called Leader in Me. Well, I read this book, and then I started developing, since I've been doing this for several years, been teaching 5th grade for about 7 years, but I've taught 2nd grade and kindergarten, and I realized that, since I work in a high-performing school, a lot of the things that I was doing was just basically teaching them, and they were just knowing it, but there are things that we could go beyond because they pick up the academics so easily. So I started teaching leadership principles anyway, and then so Leader in Me kind of validated a lot of the things that I was thinking and learning about in my own studies. Personally, I studied a lot of self-help kind of books. And then I started thinking to myself, okay, how do we make improvements? If I make improvements on myself, how do I teach kids to improve? And one of those things was a lot of the things in Leader in Me would end up that I learned myself from watching sports teams and coaching in particular, and some of the sports dynasties like the 49ers and the Warriors is how I picked up on how I should teach leadership in my class. So I combined all my own personal understanding of what it means to be a leader, and then I combined that with what I saw in Leader in Me and came up with my own program that I teach in my class. If you want to teach leadership, it does not have to be a school-wide program. If you're going to teach a solo program, then what you would do in your own classroom is teach the kids that what leadership is many-faceted. And I will introduce some of the aspects of leadership right now. And one of the key things I teach my kids is if you want to be a leader in this world, first off, one of the things you'll know and realize is that if you're a leader, you get paid double what followers get paid. That's, a lot of kids think money is everything. I don't particularly think so, but it's an easy way to get into the kids' minds is say, leaders make double what followers do. So if you are a leader, expect to make double what others do. But you also need a college education because college-educated people are leaders, or, at least they put in the time, energy, and effort to prove themselves and have certain skills that other people that don't attend college may not have. It's important to continually learn if you're a leader. But leadership is unselfish. So the first thing you have to tell people is, right now, you're going to be unselfish. You tell your students that in the first day. It's like, if you want to be a leader, because we teach leaders in my class, you're going to be unselfish. And that's going to be key, because who wants to follow somebody who's all in it for them? Another thing about leadership is leaderships have to serve as role models. Now, there are different types of leaders. Some are role models in a bad way, and some are role models in a good way. Either way, you're still a leader. I mean, Darth Vader was a leader, right? If you're a leader, you are automatically a role model. Or the people that want, if you're skillful, if you're talented, if you're capable, and that could even be capable in evil, people will still want to follow you. So I'm not teaching morality as much as I'm teaching leadership, and then you hope that leadership brings its own morality, because they will learn that, first off, moral people are unselfish, but so is leadership. So you got role models, and you should behave like the good role models. So be correct in choosing your role models so that you can follow their lead and then become like those leaders. Leadership is appropriate. So if I'm trying to do this really in a rushed manner because I know people have short attention spans, and I know this is not the best way to do this. I could actually be like showing you all my dramatic skills right now, but I'm just not in a dramatic mood, and I just wanted to get this out there. So leadership is appropriate. What that means is, as a student, you need to know when to lead. You can't just lead whenever you want. You can't just get up and do whatever you want. You have to do it when it's appropriate. Like, you know, if I teach or empower students to do certain things and then they do things the wrong way, they no longer get that type of freedom. So with leadership, you give people freedom and then they need to prove it. Okay, so there's trust in leadership. There's trust in the people that you lead, and there's trust, and they need to be able to trust you. Okay, so if you're a leader, you have to trust the people that you have that are working on the same team as you. Okay, so we've got unselfish people make great leaders. Role models, leaders know that they're role models, so they have to work harder than everyone else. They have to work harder. But the wonderful thing is if you work harder and they work harder, then no one's working harder than anyone else. Everyone's working hard. Okay? And so you can then, like I said, trust each other that you are doing the best that you can do. Leadership is appropriate. That means you have to know when it's appropriate to lead. Know your limits. And if you know your limits, then you won't do things that will kind of ruin your chances of progressing in any company so that you can eventually become a leader. Now, the funny thing is with leadership, a lot of times people think, well, leadership means you get to boss everyone around. That's not true. True leadership is knowing when to lead and knowing when to follow. Now, I'm not telling you everything that's in Leader in Me because after I read Leader in Me, I did things my own way. And I don't know if this stuff is in there or not. All I know is that I combined some of my ideas and that gave me some validation. So these are the things that I just happen to know from my own studies and my own venturing into the concepts of leadership. Leadership is knowing when to follow. And an example of this is if you are in a team, you want a team full of leaders. You don't want just one leader with a whole bunch of sheep, a whole bunch of followers. If you want your team to be the best, every person on that team must aspire to lead. Every person on that team must aspire to be a role model. And if you can get that, then everyone trusts each other. Then they will learn when it is appropriate to lead and when it is appropriate to follow. Everyone must be unselfish in this regard, and unselfish means you are going to sacrifice. And this is another thing I say. Leadership is sacrifice. Sacrifice for the good of the team. And this is something that a lot of people, are unwilling to do. That's why we have a lot of followers in the world and we have some leaders in the world, but not everyone's a leader.